You're listening to The Millennials' Choice Show, Canada's most trusted podcast on all things real estate, finance, and entrepreneurship. Here's your host, Matthew Ablacan.
What's going on, guys? We are here today. Millennials' Choice is in the house. I'm Danny Ablacan. I'm here with my brother, Matt. What's going on, bro?
What's going on, guys? We got a special guest in the house. He's not new to Millennials' Choice, but this is the first time on this podcast, Millennials' Choice, real estate, finance, entrepreneurship. He's a local entrepreneur, but actually local because you're in Toronto, you're born and raised, but you're global.
He's global now, guys.
You've done work with Grant Cardone, Brad Lee, big names. Who else? Pearson Airport. At Pearson Airport. When I saw that, I was like, this is amazing. We want to welcome back to this show for the first time.
Yeah.
Anthony Ricciardi.
So grateful.
From Ricciardi Paints. What's going on, brother?
Thank you, guys. I'm honored to be here with the new set. I'm so grateful. Love everything you guys are doing constantly. It's a constant inspiration. So thank you. And happy to be here. Let's dive in and have some fun.
Buddy, you've been putting out some interesting stuff on your Insta, and Matthew just kind of talked about it. Like, what happened with Pearson Airport? Like, you have your own museum there, man. That was sick. Tell us about that.
So crazy. So like anyone that doesn't know, I'm an artist. I open up my own galleries. I do pop-ups all around the world, and I've been doing this for about 8 years now. But recently, Pearson Airport, which is our international airport here in Toronto, came to me that they wanted to do a mural. Is what it started with. And as we started to brainstorm doing like some fun different things, they actually reached out to me. They're like, hey, we want to do something. I was like, I would love to. What do you mean?
That's awesome.
And so it was very, very crazy. They had this space that was a gallery. It was a very small gallery. It's called the Malton Gallery. And it was being underused. And they just felt like we could have there was different little pop-ups going in there, but they wanted to do like a staple. They wanted to like make a presence in the Pearson for people that are just going into it's in Terminal 1, in departures and in arrivals international. So you can sort of hit it from a few different angles. And they just wanted like a really fun thing for people to do when you're in an airport. Like, what do you do when you're in an airport? You walk around, kill some time.
Yeah.
So we thought of doing it's a multi-pronged approach. And the first thing that we've done so far is open up the gallery. The gallery features about like 8 to 9 brand new pieces of like original artwork that had never been seen before. Did multiple murals inside. We did the whole entire floor is like a big vinyl of art. There's 2 big walls that people can take photos in front of, which is really, really fun. And then there's revolving, there's a couple different screens with like just a bunch of content of mine from over the years. It's just travel and all the different shows that I've done. And then, so that was step 1. Step 2 is we're actually taking over I don't remember how many, maybe 20 of the big poles in the airport and wrapping them in art, which is going to be really, really cool. So it's not only to draw attention to the gallery, but also create some beautiful artwork for people that are walking around. And then the third one, and I'll announce it here for the first time, is we're doing like a huge, no one knows this, now they do, a huge 100-foot mural that's going where the major escalator is in Terminal 1. Like when people first walk in, there's a huge escalator, and underneath it, it's just a big white wall. And we're doing a huge mural there that'll be there forever, which is going to be, it's just big, beautiful hearts that are going to be very inspiring and uplifting. And that's just super exciting.
Dude, congrats.
That's big. And thanks for sharing it. Yeah. Exclusive.
Yeah.
Exclusive.
So guys, for those who are listening, you guys have to understand that this show's about real estate finance and entrepreneurship. And that's why we want to bring you guys, people from Ontario, people from Toronto that are doing it big. And Anthony's one of those guys. Like, Pearson's not a small contract. Yeah. So what started off as one mural turned into all of
multiple,
this. Yeah. So like, walking into that meet, let's say you get the phone call or an email. Like, how does that work? How do you get contacted by Pearson?
Yeah. So I think you mentioned like the real estate, finance, and entrepreneurship. And for me, it's very, very interesting. I'm from all 3 of those worlds, right? I went to school, to rewind for a second to say how I got to that point. I went to school for finance. And we talked about this more in depth on the first podcast, but going to school for finance, then I worked for a real estate investment fund. So understanding the real estate side of the world, understanding contracts, leasing, whatever it may be, then understanding the finance side of the world, like how to actually make things work. And then the third thing is the entrepreneur side of me. So of course, art just happens to be my medium. It's whatever we're selling. Everyone has a widget that they sell, whether it's a house, whether it's a condo, doesn't matter what it is. Mine happens to be art. Lucky for me, I'm passionate about that. But I've found a way to tie all three of those things. And I always look at the real estate and finance side of things when I'm opening up my new galleries. And that's why I go to key locations. Whether it's Dubai, whether it's Australia, whether it's Miami, New York, Vegas, doesn't matter where it is. I'm like, where can I place my artwork where A, there's foot traffic, which goes back to real estate, why it's so important. And then B, where there's the best chance of having a financial reward on the back end. Not right away. There's one big thing about Pearson is that a couple people told me like, well, are you really going to sell artwork in Pearson? Probably not. I really don't know. This is so fresh and new, but I know there's eyeballs. I know there's foot traffic. I know there's going to be opportunity for people to just see or be introduced to my artwork and hopefully inspire them to try something new in their lives. So if I can do it, like obviously anyone can do it. That's my goal. So that's the way that the conversation goes is I'm always very, very grateful for these type of opportunities. And I think a lot of people underestimate that, like how much I'm more grateful than you asking me. So when they email me, it starts as an email. It's like, hey, we love your artwork. We love what you're doing. We'd love to talk about a potential opportunity at Pearson. And I'm like, run it. Let's do it all. And the lady who's like the head of marketing, she's awesome. And I go meet with her for the first time on site. I live like 6 minutes from Pearson. We live in Etobicoke. So we go there and she goes, okay, this is our concept, this gallery. And I go, Stephanie, listen, I'm going to take over the airport. And I said this was like 3 months ago. I go, I'm going to do murals everywhere and galleries all over the airport. And she's like, I'm like, no. Did you ever go to Yorkdale when I was in Yorkdale? I had like 4 galleries and murals everywhere and sculptures. I'm like, my goal is if I go into a place is I want to take over every aspect of it because art is so universal and art can be placed everywhere. And I'm like, we'll make it work. Like I will make this work. And she's like, okay. And it's slowly rolling out to exactly what I said because I'm like, I really believe that when I have an opportunity that I'm so grateful for, I will do everything possible to make it as big as possible. That's how it happened. It just starts as an initial conversation. And a big thing for entrepreneurs to take away, and a lot of people have given me this, they credit me with this, is that I'm very quick and responsive to the smallest of opportunities to the biggest.
Yeah.
And I think people underestimate that. I really, you guys know how important it is to be responsive immediately. It's like when the email came through that said, hey, we have an opportunity for you. And like 3 minutes later, I'm responding. And of course, we have things to do. Like obviously, I'm not responding to an email if it comes now. But this first second that I have to respond, I will. Because it could be super small. It could be nothing. It usually is nothing. But one out of 10 times, it could be something big. And that's why I try to respond right away.
I'm big on that, man. I'm big on that. Like I can't stand when I contact a business.
Yep.
And either I don't hear back or it takes a while to hear back. And it's like, well, that's how you're going to treat my required work or task that I need or service that I need from you. It turns me off right away.
Yes, it should.
Especially when it's online. Like they might have, for all you know, they might have contacted several people.
Yeah.
And you're the first one. And that's already a good sign.
That's happened.
Yeah.
That's happened.
Yeah.
I feel like it's so consistent nowadays that it motivates me to be like, okay, you're reaching out for a service for whatever it is, but no one's getting back to you. But you're like a willing, paying customer.
Yeah.
And like these guys don't care. But it motivates me because I'm like, I'm not like that in my business. So
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to stand out.
Yeah.
And going back to what you're saying, I want to touch on it about, doing something not necessarily to get a financial reward right away, right? These things take time. What are your thoughts on an entrepreneur that is pouring everything into their business? Like I'm talking life savings and time and effort and energy, and they aren't seeing any results and they haven't made any profit for years. And, their house is on the line, their family's on the line. What's your perspective on that?
It's necessary. Unfortunately necessary. I think that the argument of we're not seeing progress is a figure of speech because at the end of the day, there is projects right this second that are coming through now that I had in the works 3-4 years ago. And you have to be able to weather those storms. You have to keep going. There's that beautiful, that depiction of the iceberg. You just see the tip of it and all the work underneath it.
Yeah.
That is true. Because like it all, at the end of the day, this is all a numbers game. We've talked about this before, but the truth is that like we don't know when things are going to come through. So when all the money's on the line, when the family's on the line, when all this stuff is like, well, that old saying, like we made the bed, now we got to sleep in it. Like that is the truth, unfortunately. And I mean to say that meanly, by the way. I don't mean to say that lightly. I mean to say like if we're expecting a 1% of the world result, if we're expecting beautifulness on the end. And it doesn't need to be financially. It could be freedom. It could be time with your family, whatever it is. If you're expecting that, then understand it's not going to come easy. Because if it was easy, everyone would do it.
Yeah.
Right? It literally takes. So when you're going into those situations, so what I say to those entrepreneurs, what I say to those young or old, doesn't matter what age, what I say to those people is like, if that's what you want on the back end, then you got to be willing to go through all of the junk that comes with it. Because there's not a story in history, by the way, and it doesn't matter if your parents or grandparents gave you money to start your business, doesn't matter what it is. There's not a story in history where people didn't have to go through a horrible time to reach excellence. There just isn't in history. So I believe that even if they made it seem that way, I promise you at night they weren't sleeping or whatever the case may be. So it takes a lot. And be but also be grateful for those downtimes. It's where all the lessons are learned. If everything's riding high, if everything is great, then when do we have a chance to actually grow?
Yeah.
If we're just riding like this, it's not real.
Just as a sidebar, like last night, James had such a good night. He slept literally like a baby, right? And a good baby, not a crying one. I had the worst sleep of my life last night. One of the worst sleeps.
That's how it always happens.
I had like 5 every time I fell asleep, bad dream.
Bad dream, yeah.
Bad dream. 5 of them.
Yeah.
Maybe to throw me off. Maybe to, we have recordings today. We got a lot of stuff happening today. But most people might stay in their bed and just say, I'm taking a sick day or whatever.
Yep.
Like, I'm like, nah, man.
Yep.
This is where you push through.
100%.
And it's crazy how, if you look at our society today, I don't know if you guys feel like this. Like, I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Push back a little if you disagree. Is in a lot of areas of our lives in society, people don't want to persevere. Whether it's a relationship, marriage, or just a relationship in general, partnership in business, or being in business, or being at a job that it's an entry-level job. You're trying to progress in that field.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't want to persist. I'm seeing that. A lot of people do. And a lot of people don't.
I think people don't want to do anything. I have a stronger voice. I have a stronger opinion on this. And I really believe that the majority of society doesn't do anything. And I literally mean that. What I mean by that is they just do nothing. I mean, literally they'll do their basic job and then go to sleep or watch the TV they have to watch it and go to sleep. So simple other things like taking your significant other on a date, playing with your kids a little bit longer, doing a little bit of extra work at night for your business, or maybe it's going on a run for yourself or lifting a weight or eating a healthy meal. I mean, the list goes on. Signing up for a marathon at the end of the year and training towards it, like working towards something. I believe most of society, a very large percentage, I don't want to say 99%, it's probably 98%, doesn't do anything. So it looks crazy when the 2% of the world that's pushing through something is being faced with turmoil, and everyone around us is like, why are you putting yourself through this? Because they literally don't get it. Like, why are you going through this? I'm like, well, but I don't want to be you. Like, I don't want to be stagnant. I don't want to be, because if you're not doing anything, you're actually going down. Because I'm not even getting the financial with inflation and all the other junk. Literally, the world's going to push you down if you're not doing anything, if you're not actually trying to progress. So I totally agree with you. I think it's even worse. I think they just don't do anything with anything. And unfortunately, I don't know why. But it's just because it goes down to comfort.
I was just going to say, I think people are way too comfortable. You stole the word right out of my mouth. They're too comfortable. Yeah. They don't care. They're victims.
Yeah.
I can't stand it.
That's a great word.
I'm sorry. I can't stand it when people are victims. Like, it literally gets into my core, and I'm like, stop feeling sorry for yourself. Like, get up and do something about it. There's people people have been through the ringer and have come out on top.
Oh my gosh.
And whoever is at the top and says, it was easy, is talking shit. We all know that.
But they don't.
They don't say that. Everyone
because
keeps
it's not
it
real.
In fact, they say it's lonely.
They say it's lonely at the top, right?
Yeah.
But I think I agree with you, man. People are too comfortable. People are just victims. They let things happen to them. They let what's happening in the world affect their lives. And they just go on and just being sheep and saying, you know what? It is what it is. What am I going to do? But
I've gotten better with like, I'm obviously loud. I'm very vocal about this type of stuff, but I also have to understand that everyone doesn't need to do that. Like, there's places for everyone. So as angry as it makes me when I see people just like literally doing nothing, when I know they have potential, I'm like, well, I can't change that human. All I can do is be an example. And I think that what I've tried to do at my utmost ability is just be an example of what it means to like just try a little hard. It's not like I'm doing the most. It's not like I'm bleeding every day and working. Like I'm just like trying to do more with my day, and hopefully that inspires one other person to do the same. Because at the end of the day, like I'm not going to change everybody's mindset. People are in their ways, whether it's for a few years or their whole entire life. So I've just realized recently, I mean, this is in the last 12 to 18 months where it's like, I can't change everybody, but what I can do is be an example and lead by example instead of just talking about it.
So
I love that. I
follow a lot of the real estate pages that are local to Ontario.
Yep.
And for our audience will appreciate this because a lot of our audience, they work with us. Well, now there's thousands, but like we've gotten a lot of people from the podcast that want to work with us, and young guys, a lot of construction guys, surprisingly, or trades. And, you know, there was this video posted recently about these cottages in Blue Mountain that were being constructed. And I don't know what the caption was, but someone commented saying like, oh yeah, it's easy for these guys. They're all crooks and stuff and whatever. And they could get these cottages built and whatnot. And it's the wealth was made off of the backs of like everyday people.
Yeah.
Just so, you know, as a real estate guy and someone whose parents came to the country in the 80s with nothing. And honestly, they just gave us the ability to have a home and go to school and all that. We're building everything. Danny and I are building everything like as best as we can, like on our own and with the help of people, you know, like you and stuff. But I commented and I said, what are you talking about? I'm like, this is literally the victim mentality. Yeah. You know nothing about who owns these properties. You know nothing about their background. I go, at the same time, you're talking shit about teachers and electricians. Those are the examples. Not being able to afford properties like this. I know electricians that own 3 properties right now and they're in their 20s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too.
That's a big deal. Like that's a huge achievement.
Huge achievement. Right? With no help.
Zero help. They're putting in work. They're taking on risk.
Yeah.
They're grinding. They're sacrificing maybe personal life, social life, but they're doing it. I know teachers, same thing.
Yep.
Some teachers are very savvy investors.
Yes.
And then you can look on the flip side. And the point that I was making on this thread after it became a thread.
Yeah.
I literally got like 700 people liked my thing. I'm like, thank you. At least we have some people that agree. I said, the point you can make is like even doctors with high potential to earn like a higher income, a lot of them are broke. They spend more than they make. Yeah. Or they just spend exactly the amount that they make. There's no savings. They just kind of want that life and you know. So the point is, it's not necessarily the profession you're in, but there's a lot of things that go into it. Do you know how to budget? Do you know how money works?
For sure.
So I like what you said about being the example. Yeah. And that's kind of like my chip on my shoulder. Mm-hmm. Like, cause I know we don't come from it. I know we don't come from it. I know we're building it.
I also think, I don't mean to cut you off because I really believe that you shouldn't waste a second doing that. But
700 people saw it and said maybe they took inspiration from it.
Don't bother. I don't think you should waste a minute.
Why do you say
people
that?
Are losers?
Losers?
I just think that like not you messaging.
The people,
like the guy,
negative. Yeah.
What is that guy going through his life to even have the time to spew negativity? Yeah. I physically don't understand people that message on people's things, negative stuff. I just, whether you disagree with it at the utmost of your heart, why would you ever go talk negative? You didn't talk negative. You're trying to correct somebody, right? But you're speaking to someone who's literally delusional enough to go post something negative or say something about making money on the back. Like, what are you talking about? That's not a fake story you just conjured up in your head. Yeah. And I think that what happens is when we do that, and I don't mean to be mean, when we do that and we try to stick up, we're giving everyone a platform to keep talking and talk about this silliness. True. The reason, honestly, the root of him messaging that is to get a response out of people because he's lonely in his basement.
That's true. Yeah. At the same time, I get what you're saying. It's probably not going to change his perspective, but at the same time, I get what you're saying too. You could inspire people.
The root of your thing was you're inspiring. Hopefully, maybe those 700 people were like, we agree with this, and let's try to make a positive change. And I do agree, but there's just a lot of tires that end up spinning because of humans like that, the other guy.
Well, you know, we interview a lot of mob guys.
Yeah.
The shit that they comment on these mob guys, they would never say it to their face, of course.
No way.
So on the Sammy the Bull interview in part 2, this was the first time we started this little thing where we read negative YouTube comments to them.
No way.
Oh my God, this is crazy, bro. You won't even believe
I haven't listened to that part yet.
Well, part 2 will be out by the time this drops, but you'll see it. Dude, Sammy's face when I read a certain, and I had to be like, because it was the first time meeting Sammy, And like, he was a gentleman, class act. You know, I'm not going to speak about his past.
This one was in person.
The first one was digital. This one we flew to him.
Yeah.
And dude, we read like a comment where the guy said, this video should be called "The Betrayal of the Mob by a Weasel Rat" or something. And I said that to him.
And this guy read the comment to him.
And Sammy's face was, he looked at this guy and he's like, it was the face of like, did this guy actually just read that? But because this was the end of our interview, 3 hours with him already, and he knew how we were. And I said, look, I'm just fair warning. These are all negative ones. Yeah. You had positive ones, but we just want to get a little bit of a reaction. And we never told him what it was. But dude, he laughed. He had
good. At least he took it.
Yeah, no, he
took
knew,
it okay.
He's used to it.
No, he was great with it, man.
Our point is, it's like Sarah goes, I don't like when people are mean.
Yeah, I know.
I'm like, yeah, but babe, it's the YouTube audience. Like, it's just you know, kids, it's clout, whatever. But none of these guys would ever dare to say it to anyone's face. Not even the mob guys. Our faces.
No one would ever say something. That's why they have fake accounts and stuff. They would never do it. No. But yeah, it happens.
But can you imagine who said this recently? I think it was, it wasn't on our podcast. Someone said it recently. They said, imagine that your social profile showed where you lived. No one would ever say anything negative on social media if people could find you.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Ever. I wanted to ask you your thoughts regarding, you know, I think it'll resonate really well with your story. If somebody is working a full-time 9 to 5, right? Whatever they're doing, they're supporting their family with it. And it's not their passion though. They hate what they do. But they want to do what their passion is and open up their business. What's the best advice you can give them from your personal experience that you've learned?
It's a fantastic question. And it's so important to think that way, think of how to work around it, because so many people, especially early in my career, like when I first opened up Yorkdale. So Yorkdale, if anyone doesn't know, is like a luxury mall that I had a gallery in for 5 years. When I first opened up Yorkdale, and everyone knew the story because it was in the media of me quitting and like chasing art. Everyone was like, well, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to do what I love. And I'm like, guys, no. Like, I'm the first person to say, we need to see this concept out first. And what that means is, anyone that has that inkling of passion, if you do, it doesn't matter what it is. Sometimes we don't know what our passion is. We need to try things. We all work a 9 to 5. So I was working in finance. I was working 7:30 to 7, for argument's sake. But from 7:30 p.m. to 2 a.m. or 1 a.m., what was I doing? I had to really audit my time. And if everyone just actually looks at their clock, looks at their day and be like, here's work, here's time with my significant other, an hour or two, here's time with my kids if you have kids, if not, whatever it is, maybe I gotta see my parents, maybe I gotta have a social life. I guarantee that every single person listening has an hour, has 30 minutes, has 2 hours. Some people have 4 hours. I don't know what you do with your night, but I guarantee you have a little bit of time. In that time is where we win. So in that time, over the 5-year period that I worked in finance, sometimes it was 30 minutes a night, sometimes it was 4 hours. I just painted. And I just tried to figure out what I liked. And I've done so many different things. I've opened up restaurants and jewelry lines and all this like craziness. And in all that mix, I was always just trying to find more passion. People don't go back to something. People don't do anything.
Yeah.
So what happens is they see this like little glimmer of light up at the top and they're like, well, I'm going to quit my job and like do what I love. Oh, and then the quick thing everyone tells me is like, well, I don't love anything. I don't have any passion. I'm like, well, you're not trying anything. You may have a passion for reviewing movies. You may have a passion for podcasting. You may have a passion for knitting. I don't know. Try things. But to the question is, no one should just quit their job, put their family in stress, and go chase their dreams. I believe that every single night and weekend, or every waking moment that you're not spending time with your kids, family, significant other, everything should be spent on that dream. And there'll come a point where it clicks. It could take a year, it could take 6 months, it could take 5 years. Yeah. It took 5 years for me to be like, okay, I can walk away from this stable career, which at that time, 24, 25 years old, making very good money in finance and in the relative, society. And I was like, I can leave this because my passions, it's overflowing at this point. So that's what I think everyone should do. I think that we should try a lot of things. I think we should spend a ton of time, every waking moment that we're not doing the necessities, and spend it on that. And it'll click.
I love that.
100% will click.
I love it, yeah.
Do you ever think it's too late to become an entrepreneur, or?
So another good question. Too late? No. I mean, there's always a story. There's a story of Colonel Sanders at 63, and like the list goes on. Yeah, there's a huge list of that. So it always goes down to first first and foremost, anyone listening to this podcast right now in 2024 have to understand like longevity is we're going to live longer. Like it's just a fact. Unless you're like doing real harm to your body, things are getting healthier. The medicine is getting better. Doctors are becoming more savvy with technology. So we're going to live longer, meaning that if we're 30 right now, if we're 20, 30, 40, if you're 50, you potentially have another 40, 50 years to live. And if you just understand that if we were to spend 2 years, 6 months, 1 year, doesn't matter what it is, to have a happier, more comfortable 40 years, everyone would do it. It's just that we all think it takes longer than it's going to take. But just to have a little bit more of a comfortable life, just to have a little bit more, maybe start that dream job, it doesn't take that long.
Yeah.
And when it doesn't take that long, it could take a year. You know how long a year is? It's very long. But if you got 50 years to live, let's say, knock on wood, and everything's going to be okay, got 50 more years, what's a year?
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
Perspective.
It's like when we sit with clients on the real estate side, and maybe people listening to this, I don't want to buy pre-construction real estate. That's not all we do, but that's a big part of what we do. I don't want to buy it. I'm not going to live in this condo, or I've heard bad things, or I don't want to live in this area, but yet you can't afford where you want to live.
Yeah.
Right. So pre-construction gives you a route to maybe achieving that goal. And I posted this video a couple months ago where in Markham, I bought something in 2017. Mm-hmm. Fast forward to 2024. Now I'm closing the condo. I just got the keys to it. I saw you posted
the story the other day.
Yeah. So that was like 7 years in the making.
Yeah.
Can someone have the discipline and patience to park their money? Because that's what I had to do. I put $88,000, 20% down payment.
Yeah.
Parked it with the builder in trust and just waited.
Yeah.
That's it. I got paid to wait. But now
you get paid a lot to wait.
Yeah. Well, the condo appreciated about $300K. Yep. So even in the high interest rate environment.
Yes.
So can you, whoever's listening to this or watching it, can you do that? Yeah. Can you be patient? Because that's all it is.
Sometimes it doesn't even take that long, though. That's what people don't understand.
That's like the really long.
I did one in Regent Park, and we only had for pre-construction. We had it for 2 years, just under 24 months.
Yeah,
I think we made $275,000 on the resale of pre-construction.
Yeah,
it works. It works. Sometimes it takes more, but sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah,
but being patient and putting, and also just being so you also need to know. So you have to go to experts. So you need to consult with people like you that are in this every single day to understand. Just like if I want to become an artist, I needed to study people that were doing it. And there was no one to talk to, so I had to study it. There's people to talk to, and specifically your industry, which is fantastic. So not only should we be consulting with people that have done this, is say like, okay, what am I willing to do? When my wife and I bought our first townhouse, which was pre-construction, we're like, okay, how do we make this work? Okay, it's $1,500 a month each person. We're working this like very low level job at the time. I'm like, well, we can put away $3,000 a month, and over amount of time, over 10 months, we're gonna have 30. That's gonna be the first chunk for the first payment, and you just figure it out. If you want to do something, work backwards from it and figure it out. And 100%. You can.
And it's not always gonna be easy.
No.
I always tell people in our case, like the first property is the hardest.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of unknowns, and even if you do get the information, you haven't gone through it, so you don't know exactly.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, you have to go through it.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to go through that door. And if you surround yourself with the right people, they'll help you get there and mitigate all of your risks along the way. Before we started the episode, Anth, what are you using for this? Or do you know about this? Just ask.
And we brainstorm out loud.
Yeah.
And when you start talking out loud, I was like, I haven't, but wait, a guy just messaged me. Let's see what he said. Let's see if we can do it. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
It's amazing what could happen when you surround yourself with people that are thinking either the same wavelength or even higher wavelengths, because they elevate you, right? And on that point, guys, when I was buying, I don't know if you know my story, but before I bought anything, it was me and my girlfriend at the time. We wanted to, invest in something, and then we were planning on getting married, things like that. And we didn't have money saved. We literally had $0 saved. And Matthew was like, yo, you guys got to get into something. You got to buy something. It ain't going to be ready now. It's going to be ready in a few years, but you got to think ahead and work your way backwards. Same thing like you just said.
Yep.
And that's where we went. We said, okay, let's go into Matthew showed us the project, obviously. And we had a line of credit. And we're like, hey, this first deposit's coming from this line of credit.
Yeah.
The other money, we don't know, but we're going to figure it out.
Exactly.
That's something my brother showed me till this day that a lot of people I find have a problem with is having a plan to an extent, but not being able at the same time to have it all figured out.
Yes.
Being able to take that step of faith and be like, you know what? I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to make it work and put myself against the wall and make it happen. I think that's a lot of people are struggling with that right now. There is no push or faith.
You want to know why? It's back to what you said, bro. They don't want to leave their comfort zone.
Yes.
They're too comfortable.
Yes.
There's no guarantees on that other side. You could lose it all.
Yeah.
We could lose it all at any time.
It's happened.
It
I've made big
happens.
investments in my life that have lost every single penny.
Yeah.
Happens.
There you go.
It does happen. You know?
But you like, I love that there's always that Mark Cuban has a famous line where he's just like, you just got to hit one home run, right? And we're not trying to even hit home runs here. We're not saying that one condo is going to change the family's trajectory forever, generational wealth off a condo. That's not what anyone's saying here, but it gets the ball rolling, gets you in the game. You would never, the only reason I'm able to buy a house today or even put money towards a house, whatever it is because of 9 years ago, me and Cass put together only $1,500 a month between the two of us and tried to work it out. Or else we would have never built equity. I mean, you guys know the story, but we would never been able to do anything. We didn't.
It's like my first condo, I was still working at Johnny Rockets and Lucky Strikes and Von Mills.
Nice.
Both of them are no longer there.
Yeah.
Which is too bad because yesterday I was craving a Johnny Rockets burger. Because every time we go to the States, we have
Yeah,
one.
I'm gonna go tonight in Vegas. They have a Johnny Rockets.
Oh my
in
gosh,
Venice.
amazing. Something about their meat there, it's different from ours. But in any case, I had about 5 to 7 grand saved.
Yeah.
And then I had part of like my OSAP, but I had part of like bursaries and stuff.
Yeah.
Because like we come from low income household. We truly do.
Yeah.
So but what the government does is there's a reason, I think it's in billions in the debt, student debt.
Yeah.
Is they just throw so much money at the kids that don't know what to do with money.
Yeah.
Like, and
Because
then
it goes back into the system.
yeah, and then you spend it on whatever.
Spend it on silly stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I was never like that.
Yeah.
I was never like that. Like our parents always taught us to be very conservative. They instilled a fear, and it was a fear, good and bad. Bad now because you hesitate with certain things.
Yeah.
But I've learned to work my way through that.
Yeah.
But good in the sense of you don't waste your money.
Mm-hmm.
So because they lost everything in their country, so they don't want us to go through that.
Yep.
So understandably so. But I have that. I have the first 5%. The condo is only $305,000. So 5% is $15,000.
Yep.
You work at McDonald's for a year, you have
You
$15,000.
can figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah. So I said to myself, I said, you know what? I can make this work. The next payment's not due for another 6 months.
Yeah.
Another 15 grand, 6 months from then. I said, I'm getting my real estate license. One or two deals.
Yeah, exactly.
1 or 2 deals, I said to myself.
Yeah.
Right? And you painted the for those of you guys who see us on social and stuff, you've seen the painting. It's a bright blue one with yellow. You have my first pay stub.
Yeah, so cool.
If you had looked at the date and knew when I got licensed in October. My first deal was December.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And I bought the condo in August.
But because you had that pressure, you needed to.
You had to.
You had to.
I had no other solution, right? So
I wanted to touch on the parent side of things because a lot of people use that as a crutch. And I think you're right. And you could have done the same. You'd be like, well, my parents didn't come from much. Everyone's parents doesn't come from much. It doesn't matter what it is. Our parents didn't come from much, and they taught me to like be frugal, and I never wanted to like take risk. And people use that for the rest of their lives. But we have to understand, you understand now, you're parents. So am I. And we have to understand that parents are just trying to do they're trying to do the best possible thing to make them sleep at night, knowing they gave their kids the best advice. So truly, your parents' advice to you is like, just do this careful thing. Like, don't risk it all. Like, they're not saying it negatively.
no, they weren't.
But a lot of people will use that to code, like saying, okay, my parents don't know what to do. And it's ingrained in them. Like you just said, you have to work through it.
Yeah.
It's great. And it's so incredible. And it's why you're successful is because you realize that I needed to work through that in order to become successful. My parents weren't wrong. A lot of people will blame the parents good and bad. They're not wrong.
No.
They're actually saying, hey, son, be safe.
So just to interject, like little, I guess not anecdote, but little asterisks.
Yeah.
Asterisks. So before I bought the condo, I don't know why I've never shared this part of the story. You just brought it back to me. Is I had shown my mom a different pre-construction condo project in Richmond Hill, and for some reason I showed it to her because just out of respect, you know how our family is, just out of respect.
Yeah, of course.
They're not paying for it. They have no money.
Yeah, but I'm doing this, Mom. Hey, by the way, yeah.
And when I showed it to her, and my friend who was a realtor at the time, he's no longer a realtor. He came to the house, got me more information. I wasn't a realtor. I gave him the project. I said, just get me more info.
Yeah.
I said, well, so what do you think, Mom? Like after he left, I said, what do you think? She's like, no, just keep your money. Let it build, let it build. So, and I listened to her.
Yeah.
I listened to her.
Yeah.
And the realtor, who I wouldn't do this as a realtor. I've never done this. I take a different approach, but he called me about a month later. Oh, you missed out. They went up 20 grand by the time they opened and they started selling to the general public and whatever. And that pissed me off.
Yes.
That it literally pissed me off because at the time 20 grand was a lot of money for me.
Of course, yeah.
It still is. It still is. But at the time I had these goals because bro, I'm paying my own tuition. I'm borrowing money. I'm getting all this debt.
Yeah.
My parents aren't paying for it.
Yeah.
I wish, like, at some points at that time, I would wish.
Yeah,
now I
yeah.
don't. But like, I wished back then, and especially when we had friends where they'd be like, "Mom, you're late for paying my tuition. Like, hurry the f up and pay it." I'm like, bro, you talk to your mom like that?
Yeah,
Like, what are you talking about? I would have caught a beating if I spoke. First of all, there's no money to ask for.
Yeah.
But if I ever spoke like that, which I did, I used to get beatings for it.
Of course.
Right? So
As you should.
That's literally a true story.
As you should.
true story. Danny's like, "Mom, leave him alone." But so it lit a fire under me, and then I don't know what happened. God's grace put it in my mind of like, hey, they don't understand what you're trying to do.
Yes.
Not in a bad way.
Yeah.
They just, it's not where they come from. It's not, no one's taught them.
Yeah.
They have this fear. So I understood, this revelation came to me. So then I looked for a different project, and this time no realtor, nothing.
It's direct. Yeah.
I went, bought it, came home, still told my mom. Bro, she freaked out. She got so mad.
She's
Like,
scared for you.
She was scared, and she thought I was going to move out and stuff.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
no,
too,
like,
yeah,
this
yeah.
isn't what I'm doing. Don't worry.
Yeah.
But, fast forward, even with your condo, when you bought it, the same thing was there. The same thing was there. So, like,
stay home.
Yeah,
you don't have to move out. You don't have to pay for anything.
Yeah,
you don't have
yeah,
to cook
yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
I'll cook, I'll clean, and all this stuff. Which, again, it comes from a good place.
Of course.
You have to understand that. That's, I think a lot of people don't understand. They think their parents just hate them, which I don't understand why they would. But it's coming from a good place.
It
but
genuinely is.
they might not understand what you're trying to do.
Like you said, there's a great line in a Post Malone song in Saint-Tropez. That's this song, and he says all this crazy stuff that he's doing. He goes, "I'm sorry, Mama, you'll never understand this lifestyle." It's not about lifestyles. I'm crazy. Like, I'm sorry. Everybody has different mindsets.
Yeah.
We have different goals, everything. I'm sorry, Mom. You're not gonna get it. Like, I don't mean that in a bad way.
some of your family members won't get it. And again, guys, like, this is something you have to just go after. Like, you have to pursue it. For me, I want to build a big portfolio. I want to be a giant landlord. I want to be a big, huge real estate guy.
Yeah, you're not gonna do that sitting back and not taking risk.
And you want to something crazy? The video I posted, I didn't tell you this. I was gonna call you, and I'm like, he's busy this week. I'll see him on Friday. So it's good and bad. I'll tell you why it's bad. But I posted, and I specifically put property number 14. And I said, I'm not bragging. Like, I'm just being humble. I took time to really write the caption because I really want people to know I'm not bragging.
No.
I'm just showing you what's possible.
Mm-hmm.
And what's crazy is that we believe that God has a sense of humor. Do you believe that as a Christian?
I do,
Yeah, me too. And so God has a sense of humor. And we've seen this pop up time and time again in Millennials' Choice. It's weird, but these are stories that one day we'll share. But this story, I bought the condo and the unit was always 1204. A year ago or two, maybe in 2022 or something like that, something changed because of COVID.
Layouts and stuff?
No, not the layouts, but the floor numberings, because like floors like 3 and 4 were meant for like office space, and then they got changed to residential. So they added 2 residential floors, pushing my unit up to number 14.
Oh, wow.
So it's 1404.
That's funny.
And it's property number 14.
Oh, wow.
How crazy is
That's
that?
crazy.
You can't even make
you
that
can't
up.
make that up.
No,
like,
no,
you can't even like
plan
script that.
That's awesome.
Now it sucks because it's in Markham, and apparently number 14 is worse than number 4 in Mandarin or Cantonese.
It
means
they
like
don't need 8.
like 4 means it sounds like it sounds like the word death, but 14 sounds like the word for sure death. And I'm like, oh my god, I got for sure death.
Oh,
so
man.
I don't think anyone who's Mandarin or speaking or Cantonese is renting this place, but that sucks. But I'm sure it'll work out. So yeah.
I wanted to ask you a quick
funny.
question on the topic of family. How important is it that your spouse or significant other supports you in your entrepreneurship ventures? A lot of people might be wondering, does my wife have to have my back, or husband have to have my back?
Yeah.
And does your wife work with you? Can you share that?
Yeah. I sometimes like hesitate talking about this stuff because I really believe I'm genuinely extremely lucky. And I don't believe in luck. So I believe that I have to work for this, but I do believe in this scenario, my wife is fantastic. She's incredible. And yesterday I posted a video of her and I packaging prints that we just sold. She's 8 months pregnant. Like, she was running around. She's delivering prints right now. She's like right this second while we're on this podcast. She's delivering prints. At 8 months
Shout out to
pregnant.
Cass.
Yeah, she's amazing. And so the short answer is I have to say yes, but I don't like saying yes because then people that are alone or people that don't have good significant others, that don't supportive significant others, will use that as a crutch. So that's why I don't like even touching upon it. So do I believe that you need someone in your corner? Yes, but you could do it without. Yeah. Because if you're constantly leaning, if every single time I want to do something crazy or be like, I always had Cass. Cass and I have been together since I was in grade 10. We've been together 17 years. So I've always had her. But if I didn't, and sometimes when I want to bounce an idea off somebody else and they turn it down, it's easy for me to not try things. And that's why what happens to a lot of people, and I see it. I literally see it. I was like, oh, I can't do that. My wife would kill me if I quit my job. I'm like, I think the individual is not they don't believe in themselves enough. That's what it comes down to. When you actually believe in yourself, when you truly believe that you're going to execute everything that you're saying, everyone around you will believe as well. That's your significant. Every guy that says, oh, my wife wouldn't let me quit my job, and just because you don't believe in it. Why would she believe in you? Yeah. You're not doing anything. You're not proving to her at any level that you're going to actually execute what you're saying. Or you've let her or them or they or whatever, all these different people around you down so many times by saying you're going to do something and then never actually doing it. Why would anyone believe in you? You don't even believe in yourself. So that's what it really comes down to, is that, yes, I believe a significant other is such a crucial part, like to be in your corner and fight with you, but it's not everything. Like, you have to do it all, and then the crowd will come. So
I agree with
it's tricky.
I like that.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, that was good.
Even when in my life, like, Sarah is also 8 months pregnant.
Yeah. They're close to the due date.
And I was just telling Danny, I'm like, with the change in our YouTube channels and stuff, I go, when we come home, I come home, have dinner, how's your day, whatever. James goes to bed, and then both of our laptops are open.
Yep.
And like, she's helping me with certain things.
Yes.
And like, the thing with Sarah is that and I think this is very important, curious to hear your thoughts, but I think you have to show them the vision and share that vision with them daily almost.
And execute on it.
Because there's moments where I vent to Sarah.
Of course.
I try not to when she's pregnant though, because like, I don't want to stress her out, because she gets really stressed out about it too.
Oh, that's fair.
But I share with her the wins, the losses,
and having her
the vision.
That's how she's in your corner.
Yeah. Or sometimes I'll just be like, hey, you know what? I come home, I'm like, forget it. I'm like, let's go pick a restaurant. Let's go.
Yep.
Let's just go. Let's just, enjoy it. Or, if something happens, we lose a deal, or we get a big, guest on the show. Like, they're part of it. Maddie and Sarah travel with us too, with the kids now, as best as we can.
Of course.
We want them to be a part of the growth. Yeah. And it's like, we don't overshoot though.
Yep.
We don't sell them on, this is what the future is going to look like. They know what we're trying to achieve here.
Yeah.
Right. They know what we're trying to do. Maybe we don't know what it's going to look like. We don't know what it's going to look like necessarily. Yeah. But we sell them on like.
But they believe you're working towards it.
And you have to sharpen each other.
Yep.
So like, we need that. Like, he sharpens me, I sharpen him. But then our partners need to sharpen. I think where the disconnect happens, I agree with you about the belief thing. And then I also want to add that you haven't really, I don't want to say sold your partner on it, but you really haven't brought them to the level of involvement that you need to for them just to simply say, I support you.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, it goes down to funny things. Like, I totally agree with everything you just said. Like, I genuinely do. I have guys that are like, oh, I can't go golfing on the weekend. My wife would never let me go golf. I'm like, she's right, because you've never even taken her on a date. Like, you spend no time with her. Why on earth would she let you go to a bachelor party? Like, why should she? Like, I'm sticking up for her for a second. Yeah. Like, you don't take her. Ignore date. You spend no time with her. Why on earth would she just let you go spend time with the boys? Like, it baffles me that guy. Like, I'm talking about us guys. I'm talking about the boys right now. Like, why do men in general? I mean, me and us included. Why do we think that we're above anything in the sense of like, oh, they don't get it. Like, they don't know how hard we work, or division of labor and all the different stuff. I'm like, I agree. I have to go through stresses that she doesn't have to go through. But that's why I try to keep her, like you just said, keep her in the highs and lows. Like, hey, hon, this is what's going on. We just lost this huge deal. That sucked. I was really counting on it. But guess what? We got this in the works, and I'm going to work really hard. As long as she sees you trying, and even just trying to take her out of the date. Okay, you have kids. It's hard. No babysitters. This. You got to bring your kid to the restaurant. Whatever it is, try.
Yeah.
Because the trying is where the beauty is.
But I have to talk on that though, because I agree so much with you. And like with me and Matthew have these conversations all the time where on my end, I actually fall into that category of people. Most times, I'm changing it now, where I work too hard, we work too hard, but we also don't have fun. So I'm just so bogged down with work. We haven't been on
What
dates.
does your wife do?
She's a teacher.
Okay, cool. Good.
So she's on mat leave right now. We just
Nice.
had our newborn, 6 months now. And I was talking to Matthew. Matthew's like, bro, you got to go out.
Yeah.
And you got to have fun. And I'm like, but bro, we're so busy, blah, blah, blah. He's like, bro, you have to do it though.
Yeah.
And that's something even recently I'm like to my wife, and we're homebodies. We're
Sure.
very happy at home, but at the same time, we need to have that balance of being
Yeah.
able to go out and enjoy ourselves, which we don't
The term
do often.
homebody, though, often is just a crutch to be like, I don't really want to do anything tonight.
Exactly.
Like, it's like you would love a nice dinner. Like, let's go to Casa Loma and go to Blue Bloods and have a great steak and a glass of wine. Would be perfectly fine. You don't have to be with a big group of people.
Exactly. So I was talking to Matthew the other day. He's like, bro, you guys got to go out.
Yeah.
Go out and have fun. Because if you're not having fun, you're not doing those other things, then you're really going to, get bogged down with life and work and all
And
this
then you'll
other
start
stuff.
resenting each other. I'm not saying this is you. I'm saying
Yeah.
people would start resenting each other when you're going to be super busy at work. But then you didn't find or carve out time. And listen, to be mean, like, you have time. You have time.
We
to
all
do
have
things.
time,
Yeah.
for sure.
So, but life will get extremely busy. We're about to feel it with 2 kids, but even with one is astronomically busy. And then you have all this work and you're trying to build a life and provide security for these people that you love. So thinking about going to dinner or going out or taking the kids to the mall for a walk, it doesn't matter what it is crazy. I get it, but it's crucial.
It's so crucial, but it is more work you have to do in terms of, you got to consciously think about it, set time aside and be like, we're going out. We're going to go do this. And I told her, I'm like, babe, call your mom for Valentine's. I'm like, call your mom, tell her, is she available to watch Luca?
Yep.
I'm like, we're going to Jacob's.
Yep.
And she's never had, a place like that, like Jacob's, you know what I mean?
If
I'm like-
Maddie doesn't like Jacobs, I'm gonna have a word with her.
No, she's
Give
gonna
her the
she's gonna
virgin
love
calf
it, dude.
though. That's like 14 years old.
Bro, I'm going
that they
all
cut
out.
out.
Yeah,
awesome.
I'm going all out, and but she still was insisting. No, like why? We don't have to go do that. I'm like, we're going. I'm like, tell your mom, get ready. We're going.
Yes,
we're gonna
it's
have a
awesome.
good time. But that's the thing. It's hard to kind of get out of that rut. But it's one of those things. That's why you have those people.
It's an outlet. Yeah,
it's an outlet. But you have certain people that are giving you good advice in terms of entrepreneurship, saying, look, as your wife, you guys gotta have the lows together, you got to have the highs together too, and not just go out with your friends or whatever the case is.
I look at those as, this is maybe a different take, but I look at them as business things. I tell you why. We're going to brainstorm out loud. We're going to talk about things, or even better, we're going to talk about nothing about business. It's give my brain a little bit of a second break, and then I can come back rejuvenated.
Yeah.
And I think some of our best ideas, best concepts come on those 2 spectrums, those very wide spectrums. Whether we're at a nice dinner, I'm brainstorming business stuff, or we're talking about something that has nothing to do with business. And when I go back into business mode, I'm like, I have a great idea. So I think they're necessary for growth in business.
And
Genuinely.
I was just about to
them.
interject, and I was gonna say that's why, because him and I, for those listening and watching, and just transparently, we'd argue about this.
Yeah.
I'd be like, bro, why do you want to go home so early? Or New Year's, come out with us. It might not be a fun. Where we're going might not necessarily be the funnest.
Yeah.
But we'll be together. Just
yeah.
come. This is why we used to argue this, right? And I would try to get you to come out more, because what it does for you is it kind of resets you.
Mm-hmm.
Just weirdly enough, even if you are talking about business, it's doing it in a different environment and setting. You're changing your environment. It just changes it.
You also don't know who's sitting beside you one time.
You don't know.
You also don't know. You overhear somebody overhears you talking about real estate, and they happen to be the seat beside you, and they're looking to sell 15 properties next month.
You have no idea.
You literally don't know. I have a story that just happened last week. It has exactly to do with this. I went to Cabo last week. I was in LA for a client, and then I had to go deliver a painting to Cabo. It was rolled up, so I was going to paint there. I was supposed to be there for 2 days. 2 days. I booked a return flight. And while I'm there, because you don't know, to go to this point is you have to be open-minded and try different things. I'm there, and one lady walks over. She's like, "What are you doing? You're painting here." And there's a friend of the client's, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm here just for a couple of days." She's like, "I really like your art. Can I buy a painting?" I'm like, "Oh, I mean, yeah, I don't know." She's like, "Well, do you have time to do it here? Because Cabo has an import tax of 30% on home goods, so they don't want to import stuff. They wanted me to do it there." I'm like, "Sure." Then another friend, we're at dinner, and another friend comes over. "Oh, you're an artist? Oh my God, I need art on my walls." "Oh, okay, cool." I ended up doing 9 paintings.
Wow.
I stayed there for 10 days.
That's amazing.
Instead of 2-day trip. I say that story has nothing to do with art, has to do with putting yourself in a scenario in which something can happen.
Yeah.
You don't know who's sitting beside you. You don't know when you're talking out loud that something can come from it. You guys may think of something super innovative when you're out on New Year's Eve, you had 2 glasses of wine. You're like, oh, actually, this is how we should approach this. Or this is who we should reach out for the pockets. Whatever it is, you need to put yourself out there. At home, it's just not going to happen.
Another little area is like, if we just, to wrap up about networking.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
it's a good transition. Is when I bought my first luxury watch, it's a Omega Speedmaster, the classic one with the Hezolite, you know. It was to remember my first ever investment property that I sold.
Yes.
So I wanted, you know, the first watch worn on the moon. There's a little story to it, right?
Yeah.
And I was like shaking. I was like $8,000. I was like shaking, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of
I
money.
made $600,000 on the sale of the house. I'm shaking for $8,000.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, Sarah's like, just buy it. You know, I'm like, yeah, I know, but I feel weird. You buy something too. I'm like, can you just buy something? She's like, yeah. So anyway, she gets something. And then I'm like, bro, I want to get into Rolexes.
Yeah.
I just need to get into Rolexes.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get it. You know, there's this like prestige to them.
Yeah.
And like, why?
Yeah.
Why? I need to find out why. I need to break these like mental barriers I have that scare me to buy something like that. And so I start putting myself out there with authorized dealers, and then I start getting Rolexes.
Mm-hmm.
And Sarah's like, you sure like you should be spending like this money on this, this and that? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, don't worry. Like, I know what I'm doing, and they hold their value and stuff. So all of a sudden Rolex starts inviting you to private events.
Sure. Who's in that room?
People that you want to do business with.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You don't know why you're going to do it. You don't know why you're going out there. You don't know why necessarily. Sometimes it's the meeting. Donald Trump said once, it's the meetings I didn't want to take or go to that turned out to be super, super valuable.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Talking about watches, it's really cool. I have a great story from Australia. So I'm on the other side of the world and going to meet this client of the gallery's client. He's like, he's a billionaire, and like he's hard to get through and blah, blah, blah. He's very short with his words. We get in the elevator, and I have my watch, and I just stand like this for a second. He looks over, he goes, where'd you get that? I go, oh, LA. He's like, I have the exact same one. And it's like 1986 vintage, blue face, purple face, whatever it's called, solid gold. And immediately, we're friends. Immediately. We end up talking. He goes, okay, cool. Yeah. He leaves like 2 minutes into the meeting. But yeah, Anthony's doing all the artwork here. Don't worry about it. He barely knew my art, to be totally honest.
Yeah.
But like, I was already and this has happened so many times in my life, but I'm already a verified peer, right? Just like I mentioned the Cabo thing, we're at a luxury resort. We're already verified peers. And I don't mean that in like a pretentious way. I mean that like you do things with people that are similar to you. So if someone has a similar watch, we get together, we can chat about watches all day because we have similar interests. But guess who has similar interests to luxury watches? The clients that we want. Guess who stays at luxury resorts? The clients that we want. So that can be at any level. You can love certain. I have a friend that's huge, loves guns. Like he's a hunter, like in the U.S. And he goes to these meetups, and all the guys are just like him. They can chat about guns all day. It's really interesting, crazy. To me, it's crazy, but to him, it's awesome because you're getting together with like-minded people. It doesn't matter what you're doing. And he's a mortgage broker, and he can chat about people. Maybe some of those guys need a mortgage. Who knows?
That Speedmaster, I was in Michigan for my friend's daughter's first birthday.
Yeah.
At like an apple farm.
Yeah.
And I literally saw a real estate agent that had like a little, not a booth, but they had like one of the, what were they called? Like stables? No, like the stables are like barn. There's a few things where they sponsored.
Nice.
They gave out cider, whatever. And I really liked how they did it. So I said, Sarah, let's go talk to them. Just, while we're here. We talked to them. And one of their clients comes, he goes, nice Speedy.
Yeah.
I'm like,
he knew.
Bro, he knew right away.
Guys
the
know,
watch.
yeah. It's awesome.
He's in Michigan. There probably will never be something that, we do together. I gave him my info. But at the end of the day, that's how it starts like a conversation. So it's so important, guys. Put yourselves out there. Yeah. It's so important. And you gotta get a luxury watch.
Soon.
Show your you have to show your passions.
Yeah.
It could come through watches, could come through a nice jacket, could come through a pair of shoes. Show your interests and you'll find like-minded people.
I like that.
Yeah.
Love it. We didn't mention this at the beginning of the show. Probably should have. We're trying to get to 100,000 downloads by the end of 2024. Anthony said it's a low threshold, small goal.
Super low goal.
So what should our goal be?
You guys tell me what I mean by this. If you look back, I take a lot of notes. I journal a lot. If you look back 8 years ago and you say you want to sell a certain dollar amount or number of condos or units per year, Could you imagine what you did last year and you're going to do this year?
No.
Probably not.
No.
The number's huge.
Yeah.
Versus 8 years ago, you would have settled for 20% of that. Maybe less. I don't even know.
Yeah.
But if you ask me how many paintings I would sell or the dollar amount that I would sell 8 years ago, if I sold a painting, that was my goal. Like my goal was one gallery. I've done literal galleries around the world. Right? My goal was one. Like a one-night pop-up was my goal.
Yeah.
So when you're going to look back on that 100,000 download, you're going to be like, that was so silly we even said that.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? So I'm finally learning, just make them outrageous. Make them ridiculous, whatever seems ridiculous, because we know the fact. It's all realistic. It's all real. Does somebody in the world have 1 million downloads on a podcast?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Does someone have 10 million? Okay. So is it possible?
Yep.
We're trying to hit 10 million downloads on this podcast, guys, and we need your help. Okay? So make sure to comment, subscribe.
Good. That's what I like. And
And
guess what? It's not going to happen next week.
No.
But we got to keep trucking.
100%.
I like that, man. I like your mindset.
And check you out on Instagram, Ricciardi Paints.
Yep. Yeah, Ricciardi Paints on Instagram, website, and all that fun stuff. And I also have another gallery opening up that I forgot to mention early on because you mentioned Valentine's Day. So on Valentine's Day this year, at the Novotel downtown, which is across from like Union Station, it's a Novotel downtown, I'm opening up a gallery, and we have a dinner there that's gonna be really cool, inspired by my art, and I have another gallery opening there. So if you're at Pearson or you're in Yorkville, my other galleries in Yorkville Village or in Novotel, you can see my art.
Amazing.
Awesome, bud.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Thanks for doing this. Yeah,
thanks for coming by, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This is
so
awesome.
great. So grateful.
So valuable, guys. You guys want to get into business, just reach out, like contact people like this. Everyone comes from a humble beginning.
Yep.
Even those who inherited it, they have to work to keep it.
100%.
They have to work extremely, probably harder than we do to keep it, because they have to learn stuff that, we learned through the hardships and stuff. They have to train themselves because they come from the wealth. So don't be a victim. Work hard. Chase your dreams.
Keep going.
Until next time, guys.
We're out.
Thank you.